Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're glad you're here. My name's Robin Tinker. I'm your National Account Manager. And so I'm here to help you with anything you need. And David Disko is your implementation consultant, and he's going to be leading you throughout the webinar and showing you some great things on how to manage your account and make it more user-friendly for each of you. Our agenda, we're going to review how to deactivate, update, and limit courses for your program. We're going to review the new course builder, quickly go through some English language learner options. We have a new courses coming out that'll be available in courseware. David's going to show you some of his favorite reports, point out a few. Some of you use the career and technical education courses, others may not. Talk about some of the products we're retiring and why. And then we're going to review how to set up and assign adaptive assessments and or just put learners in learning paths to target each of these different areas. And I went ahead and included a quote in here from another adult ed center that I work with out of Indiana. And I asked her how the new program was working for her, and she said that she implemented at the beginning of this year, and COVID hit and made everything more difficult. She had a specific example where she has a learner named Eric, and when he came into the program, he was at a 4.9 in math based on his TABE. And after using Exactpath, it was the only program he used, and he went up 1.5 grade levels in 1 month. So just wanted to share that with you. The success story is available if you'd like to see it for yourself. And with that, and then I'm going to pass it over to David and Susan. I didn't know if you wanted to hop on with anything.
Not necessarily, unless there's something that comes up that people have a question about. I'm here. I'll be available in the chat. So if folks have specific questions that I can answer, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, take it away, David.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I've probably worked with a lot of you before, but I just want to give you a real quick background. I work on national accounts, and anything that's bigger than, say, a county, we kind of define that as a national account. So you being a statewide implementation, I'm working with you, and a lot of other statewide and wider groups across the country as well. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And we're going to dive right into this because I've got a few things to cover, and I want to make sure I make good use of everybody's time. Now, if you've worked with me before, you know I invite a lot of participation. And with our setup today, we've got about 25 people in here. So if you wanted to come off of mute and interrupt me at any time, ask me a question, I'd be very happy to address that. If you'd rather not unmute yourself and type it into chat, I can go in and I monitor chat kind of with one eye on the side to make sure that your questions are getting answered. The end of this thing, I'm going to put my email address up there and make sure that you folks have access. If something comes up later, or you want to ask a longer, more involved question, then please, I can set up, just answer it via email. Or if we need to set something up, I can, maybe set up a short Zoom call with you as well. So I'm in here and I'm looking at one of your programs. I'm going to jump over immediately to the Administration Center first, kind of get a little of that housekeeping thing away. One of the things that is fairly typical for any large account after it's been going on for several years is we come over here, and this is one of the things I always look at when I first log into anybody's account, is how many users you've got here. So right now, looking at the total user count, there's about 16,564 individuals in here, individual accounts. I'm not going to say they represent individual people, but there are individual accounts. Some of those are going to be active students, and some of those are going to be active instructional staff, and some of those might be students or participants or staff members who maybe have not worked with you for a while. I see right here we have Hawthorne student 1 through 17, 18, whatever I'm showing on the screen here. So with that, there may be some things that could be a little bit of cleanup. Cleanup is usually the responsibility kind of like everybody. If you have a student who hasn't been around for a while, it's pretty easy to turn them off. And really that's all you're doing. You're not deleting anything. So if they're one of those students who go, kind of go away and then they come back and then they go away again and they come back, we want to keep their records. So what we kind of, show people there is to have you go in and deactivate people. And if you wanted to do it one at a time, you just come over here to actions and see where it says deactivate user. That's throwing a switch to turn everybody off. Okay, so I'm selecting that one person. I'm going to turn their account off. This stops them from logging in. It reduces the number of people here. And where that really impacts you is when you go in and add a student to a class or any other thing in the system, and you want to quickly find students. You're not looking through 500, you're maybe looking through 100 or 40 or 50. So it's really going to help if we all kind of pitch in, and for our individual programs across the state, go in and kind of clean that up a little bit. There's probably instructor accounts in there too. Maybe folks who haven't used the system in a while, because instructors kind of come and go at times as well. Now, if I deactivate a user, like a student, and it turns them off, what happens if they come back? All I have to do is look for them in the deactivated area. And I would do that by coming over here to status, and I can look for them under inactive, hit filters, and I can see here's the students who are currently deactivated. There's about 5,800 there. And if I wanted to reactivate them, all I'd have to do is come over to actions and reactivate. It's just like a switch. All their stuff's going to come back. Okay. So, and Susan's chiming in chat saying that if you have people who have that program admin account that you can't really deactivate, let her know she can deactivate them, and I can also help with that too. So there's some help for you there. That's a little bit of cleanup there. There's some other cleanup things I'll show you here in a minute, but one of the big ones, and this is a thing that I get sometimes from folks, particularly in implementations like yourself, where you have a lot of courses from us, and you have a lot of locally created courses as well, those custom courses. So with that, sometimes you look at that list of coursework and it's really, really long. And somebody's chiming in here with a question about students. What if a student transfers to another program? And this is a great question. Will they be able to reactivate them? Yes, if they can go in, and if they have trouble finding that student, maybe they're restricted to one program and a student moves over to another, then they could let Susan know and she can go find that student easier, because some of us are restricted to one specific program. So it is totally possible to get them reactivated and transferred. Those kind of things work well within the system. So getting back to this coursework piece. So if I would come over here to access, and I'm only picking this one because it's right there at the top. If I click on that, there is a tab for the program course catalog. So right here, by default, everything is visible to assign. Now, it's great because I get to choose from everything, but there's a problem sometimes with maybe picking the wrong thing, or there may be older courses in there that you don't want to use anymore. There may be some certain custom courses that you don't want to use. So what you can do is go in and click these little blue check boxes, and that will essentially turn off the course in the catalog on a program basis. So if I'm doing this for access, it's not going to impact any other program that you have.
Hey, David, there was a request to
Yes.
zoom in on your screen a little bit. The text a
Okay.
little small.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
Thanks.
There we go. So with that, it's really great because you can form that list of courses to be exactly what you need. I have run into programs in the past that have said, we want our instructors only using a small subset of that giant list. And instead of having to deal with all those courses, this makes things just a little smoother, okay? There's another question there. What if students transfer to another program? Will that be able to reactivate them? Okay, yes, so we got that already. And so students can move around if they need to. And if they don't leave and become deactive, you can actually do a transfer of them. If they're in program A and move them over to program B while they're still active, you can do that as well. So there's some other cleanup retirement things. This could be a full 2-hour, walkthrough of all the cleanup things, but these are the big ones right here. And that's going to help the system work a little bit smoother for you as well. So I'm going to go back over here and touch on one more quick thing here. So if you have access to this page, and if to do that, you would have the program administrator privilege or the account administrator privilege, and you could click on manage courses. If I come down here, I'm going to circle back and talk about that little triangle there in a few minutes. But if I scan down here, what I'm looking for are things like this, where it says, this is the old version of TABE and it is retired. There's several of these down here. There's a new one here that's being used, but things like this, where it says no enrollments, no time on task, it's retired. There's no reason to keep it in this list. So what you could do is come over here, click that down arrow, opens that up. And if I click the box in front of the course name, I can hit deactivate section. Now, no trouble in doing it here because no enrollments, no time, no activity there. I can feel free to just go ahead and do that. The one up there, or actually two up there, that have a little bit of time in it, you might want to explore that to make sure it's not currently active, it's not currently pending. If nothing's going on with that, then it's okay to deactivate too. But that cleans up this list as well. So that's a quick one to do. Okay. So that's a little bit about the cleanup piece. What I want to do next is to come down to our course catalog and point out a few things that have changed since we last looked at this. And I'm first going to talk about the Plato courses. Now, with the Accelerate 2 courses, these are pretty neat little courses, and I'll give you just a quick snapshot of this because you may need to use it, maybe not. What these are designed to do is to take students who have had an early termination of their previous school year and those things that they need to be ready for and need to be proficient in to understand things like Algebra 1, Algebra 2. And you can see where it says 2, then it says 2, Accelerate 2. We want to make sure the students are ready for that. These are short, compressed courses, could be done in anywhere from a week to 3 or 4 weeks. And like I said, they give the student the readiness for that piece, not a complete readiness, but what we consider to be essential learning. So there's a lot of those in there right now. There's a new algebra course here. There's some other new things. And what I wanted to circle back is this one here. This is important. You may have seen this where it says preparation for GED, or it could be some of our other coursework in here, and there's a triangle there. This course is going to retire at the end of this month. We're almost halfway through the month, maybe a third of the way through the month, but we're moving on through the month of December rapidly. At the end of this month, this is going to be replaced with a new version. The reason for this is it says discontinuation of Flash. Believe it or not, this has 2 modules in it of Flash. They are the last 2 modules in the course. So a lot of people never really encounter any problems with this course because their students go on and test before they get to the very end of this course. So if you're saying, well, I haven't seen any problem with it, that's probably why. So we're going to have a new version of this. This version of ACT Science Reasoning is no longer needed, so we're going to drop that. In ACT Work Keys, which I know that you have used or are currently using in some cases, Applied Mathematics is the new current level or the current name of the course. And Graphic Literacy has superseded Business Writing. And Workplace Documents have superseded some other things as well. So we have newer versions. So these ones that are marked here are just going to disappear at the end of the month. The newest versions are already here. Okay. So I've got a question, and this usually comes up. Will the new version just take its place? The students won't know it changed. So the students, again, are not self-directed. They have to get assigned by you. So you will have to go in, and if you want them to use the new course, then you will have to unassign them from the old course and assign them the new course. It's not going to be an automatic replacement. We don't want to go in and make any assumptions there. So that's why we don't do that. So you'll have to go in and do something. When you log in after those courses get replaced, there'll be a pop-up window. Please read those windows. We don't put them there for advertising or anything else. We put them there to give you some good news about any changes we've made to the system. So please, it will give you some ideas there. And this is another one that, can they still use it? Now, if they're assigned it, they'll still have it. So if you wanted them to go along with it for maybe a month or two, then that's fine. We're not going to take it away from the student, but it won't appear in this list anymore, and it will have the new one. In this case of the GED RLA, if you think that it's important for them to do those last 2 modules, then you could go ahead and assign them the new one, transfer the credit, and then have them do those 2 modules. Like I said, it's the last 2. Sometimes folks never get, past, or near that point with the students. There's some other things that are going to get changed as well. Let's go down here. Advanced reading and writing is going to be replaced with another course. I don't know exactly when that's going to get replaced if you're using that. The ASVAB is going to be replaced, and again, I don't know when that's going to be done. Same thing with basic reading and writing. The career readiness certificate pieces are not going to be replaced, rather. We find that very few people use them, and these are kind of a subset of what appears in the ACT work keys. So we just didn't think it was important to replace those. We are going to have a new version of CASAS, if that's important to you. We are going to have a new civics course. We have contracted with an outside vendor. I've seen a preview of the course. It looks pretty good. So we'll have a new civics course for you. Developmental math, we have some other things that we can insert into your library that will take care of a lot of these pieces if you're using developmental. I know I'm moving through that pretty quick. HiSet, which I know you're not using, but this is going to be replaced because I know there's a move afoot to look at other tests for high school equivalency in the state of Minnesota. So these things will be updated as well, and they're already ready there for you to use. Okay. The NRS is going to be disabled temporarily, along with some of the praxis. And I'm going to make sure I don't hit anything. And just to point out, the reason that TABE, even though it says retired, notice I can't go in and make any new assignments for it. I could just open it up and look at it. The reason it's still there is because it's still in that list that we looked at a few minutes ago. The task is going to get replaced as well. And we also have some new stuff at the bottom with virtual labs. So that's a quick rundown. Now, here's the thing. You may have some custom courses that have Flash in them. And there's basically two ways to determine that. One is to go in and try to launch the course. And if it has trouble launching, then that's a good indication that it has Flash. And Adam, to answer your question, some of those things are get replaced this month, and some of them are going to get replaced in January. Okay. I don't have a finalized list yet. So the other way to tell when the course has Flash in it is to look at it through the custom course builder. And this is a brand new piece that has been in the system less than 30 days. I don't know if anybody's looked at it yet. There was one of those pop-up messages when you logged in that said, oh, we have a new custom course builder, check it out. So we'll take a quick look here. The functionality of this has been completely reworked. I spend a lot of time using the custom course builder in either building things for people or helping people build them. This morning, as a matter of fact, I spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours in the custom course builder, helping a small facility out in California build some readiness courses. And since this new one has been in here, the time I've had to spend working in it has been drastically reduced because it works a lot different. We didn't take away any functionality. We, as a matter of fact, added features to this. So let me give you a quick picture of this. So I'm going to hit create a draft. Now this is new. Okay, before you just say start custom course. Well, I'm going to create a draft of the course, and it forces me to give it a name. Before, it just went in there and said, oh, you know, we're going to give it a name that's just temporary, and I hope you remember to change it. So this one, we force you to put a name in it. So I'm going to do very bad practice here and just call it test 1, 2, 3. Then it's optional, but it really is helpful if you give it a subject area. So if I was doing a science course, let me just click science, and then I hit create course. Now, this is another thing that you may notice that's different. It's very quick to respond. When I hit the button, things happen automatically. Now, right here, my choice is a bit different. Same things. I can go over to titles. I can go to custom courses. So if I need to revise something, I could come down here to custom courses and want to select all, and then maybe take a look at ABE Advanced Math. And if I click through this and open it up, I can tell right away that this is okay. There's no flash problems in it, because if there was a flash problem in it, there would be a little red rectangle, a bright red rectangle that says flash. Okay, so I could see that right away. Right there. So trigonometry part 2, it says this, it's a warning, this activity contains flash. So with this, there may be a problem with students launching some of this content. So I wanted to show you that and how that looks. Now, to do a custom course, I'm going to go back to browse content. I'm going to go into courses, and I'll just grab a CTE. To use this, if I wanted to add unit number 1, click, drag, and drop. If you've done that before, you'll notice that I have a lot more leeway to where I drop it. Notice here, I come over here, and it's much easier to drop this. The other thing is, if I want to add an end of semester test, my button is right there, click, and it adds. In the previous version, I could not preview that end of semester test. This time I can. I just clicked on that test, and it shows me the test it just generated. So I get immediate feedback for how many questions are in that end of semester test. I added 2 units, so it gives me 16 questions. If I went back and added more units or more material, then it's really going to add those questions, and I can see how large that test is getting. And that's something you could not preview before. That is a very powerful feature. The other power feature I want to mention here is, and this is a question I always get when I introduce the custom course builder, and now I can answer it in a positive way, is if I'm working on a course, can I have somebody else help me? Can I have somebody else or number of people review the course? And the answer in the past was no. Today, that is yes. I come up to this button here, and it says not shared. I can click here, and I could type in, and here's Susan. Susan is now a co-editor on this course. Susan and I can share the responsibilities of editing. And yes, you can share it with anybody in any program. Aha. Now, now Susan, calm down, because here's the thing I can do as the editor. All right. As the editor, if I would say, now, Susan, I trust you, but I would rather that you just view the course and give me feedback.
Man, there's always a but.
Always a but. Okay. So right here, I can say, I want to add Susan as a viewer, not as an editor. And if I wanted to come up here, here's Adam. I could bring Adam in and I could say, Adam, you're going to be an editor, or I could make Adam a viewer as well. I have control, and I can go in and I can adjust their privileges at any time. So I could start them off as editors, take them down to viewer, and then viewer up to editor, however I wanted to.
Hey, David, there was a question from
Yes.
Abby in the chat. Can we share with collaborators in any program?
I believe so. If they have access to your program, and that's something that
So we might have to give them access to the program.
Yeah, I haven't
but then
tried that one. Yeah, I haven't tried that. But if they have access to your program, yes, for sure. And if they don't have access, I'm going to have to say maybe on that.
But we can get them access if they need access, right? So that's really not a hard thing to do. Just go and edit their profile and give them access.
Yeah, and you're correct that the instructors cannot be a viewer or an editor here. So that's something you could do. Now, the way to handle that is temporarily, you can go into the admin center and move them from instructor to program admin. And then after that editing process is done, take them back down to instructor privilege.
And I think the bumping somebody up to the program admin role is something that Adam or I have to do as account administrators. But it really takes it's like 3 clicks. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So if it's something that you need, we can take care of it.
Yeah, it probably takes longer to write the email to say, can you make this person, a program admin for 30 days than it does to go in and actually do the process itself. Yeah. So if I hit save now, you can see that I have 2 people listed here, and I can see who they are anytime. I can add as many as I want to. I was playing with this when it first came out on my test account, and I stopped at about 20 people in this list here. I went, yeah, it'll work for a bunch of people. So to me alone, that is what they say is worth the price of admission. That one piece right there, I can add collaborators. I think that's really important. The other thing next to it that you may have noticed, see, it's where it says auto save enabled. I don't have to worry about saving this anymore. Because if I had been working in the old one and the power went out or I lost my internet connection, then my work might be gone if I hadn't saved it. Now it's auto saved. Because I could hit the close button right here, not have to do anything, come right back in here and test 1, 2, 3 is right here in the drafts folder. Other thing to notice, it gives me a little feedback now where it didn't before about who did this. Now, I'm in the system. When I visit your system, I'm known as ECEC. When you folks are in it, it's going to have your name in it. So be aware that if you do an edit or create a course, then it's going to tag you as to when and who did it. It says right here, December 10th, 2020, 2:31 p.m. If I look at this and I go, nah, I don't want it, I hit delete. I can go ahead and delete it from here. I can edit the course details, which means the name of the course and the subject area. I can go in and change my collaborators from here. there's a really high level of connectivity on this tool that was not there before. And then I've got a couple of, I can create a new draft from here. And if I want to go back into this and continue editing, I can hit the button right here and go straight back into it. Do you notice how fast that is? The other thing we did was we took those pieces where you want to add documents and websites and discussions out of, having to go into the specific unit or the top level, and we put them over here on the side so they're easy to find. If I want to add a separate unit, I click here, and then it puts the unit right there at the bottom where it needed to be. And if I need to add a pre-test for the unit, I could click here and an end of unit test there. So it's very easy to do now. And now with that empty unit, essentially, I could come over here to courses, titles, custom courses, and drag over and build. Like I said, this is really a very powerful tool now. And notice it says rename. So if I want to rename new unit to whatever, I can. And if I don't want it, I can hit remove. So that's kind of a quick thing about this. Yeah, so with people in other programs, you could just do a request and then connect those people to, from your program to where they are, and they'll be able to share with you by connecting them with other programs. So again, if I wanted to get rid of this because I don't want to clutter your site, I'm going to hit delete. There's a few other features in there, and I'm compressing this for time because we got some things to talk about still. But this is really a good piece. There is in the Help Center a builder guide for this and a tour. So please make a little bit of time if you're going to use this to come over here and go through the guide, go through the builder. And I have to share this with you. Back in January of this year, so almost a year ago, I got pulled into a committee to look at this. And I was part of the team that said, this is what we want it to look like. This is what we want to change. I'm really happy to say I got almost everything I wanted. Not everything I wanted, because I had some big things I wanted to see. They're on the table for the next update to this tool. So, but it had most everything I really wanted. The thing I told them was most important was that collaboration piece, and to make it a little faster and look a little nicer. So I think we've accomplished a lot of those pieces. So I'm going to come back over here to Program Snapshot. And I'm definitely keeping an eye on the time because I got a couple things to talk about here. In courses, if you use, we'll just pull up this one right here. Right now, this course is not using our pacing. And to use pacing, you set a start date and an end date. One of the things that we added that you may not be aware of is the ability to go in, and if you add a start date and end date, it now gives the student specific pacing module by module. And what I mean by that is, so we have target dates right here. That would be the target date for each of these modules. So the students just wouldn't have a start and an end goal and have to figure out how to fill in the blanks. We filled in the blanks for them. So I would know that I need to hit this one by this date, this one by that date. The student is not penalized for not hitting those dates. Okay. So they can still miss those dates by a mile. And yes, you can adjust the main target date. All of these individual dates, these are calculated based on the start and the end date. If you need to adjust the end date student by student, then you can. Because when I add students to the course and the activate pacing, let's take a quick look at that, because that's important. That's up here under section settings. Okay, the reason we're not seeing the end date here is because this is past. If I would update this to, I don't want to go that far. Let's go to the end of March. And I click save. Now you can see I have pacing activated. Okay. This vertical line indicates where the student should be at any specific time. Now, of course, we see everybody way off pace, so we're not going to worry about that piece, but I can see by just rolling over there to see where they should be. And if I come over here to see the individual student, then I can see where they should have been. Okay. So I can see here, we're down into March, April, June. So right over here, here's November, and here's December. So like this item right here, unit activity on investing, student should have been here at this point. Now I can change the due date for this student, which will automatically recalculate all of those dates. I cannot go in and adjust that date. Again, they're not going to get penalized for it. Okay. And yes, you can go in and set it differently. So I can say this person here, maybe we want that person to finish in June, whereas the rest of the class finishes at the end of March. This person, maybe they started late, or maybe they had something come up. So I could extend the due date for this person. We don't actually call it due date, we call it target date. Okay. And if I wanted to adjust target dates, I could come here to the individual student, see where it says edit, start, and end. There's the start and there's the end. Okay. Now, moving on to reports real quickly. We'll stay here and just click here. One of the things we have are weekly reports. I happen to like those weekly reports because it gives me an idea of maybe when the student is performing well and maybe not so well. So if they start off strong and maybe they fade a little bit, I can see their performance dropping on a curve. You can imagine this counting how much time and how many activities they're using in the course. I could see this go up and down. And if I start to see it go down, I can quickly intervene with the students. And it gives me a weekly breakdown of everything they've done. It's a great report for intervention. Now, I can pull it up here, but if I'm pulling it up here, you can imagine I've got quite a few students in here. I'd have to go one by one. So what I could do is come over to menu, go to reports, not classic reports. The classic reports are the standard reports that we've had in the system for a while. The reports button is somewhat new. I can click here and there's a big difference because I'm actually creating the report. You're taking reports that we've already kind of built and then forming them into exactly what I want and scheduling them to run. So I can come over here, create a report. I have to give it a name, and I usually forget to put the name here. And I can choose a progress report, a grade book, and there's weekly progress. And if I need to get reminded of what it looks like, I can pop there, and it gives me a sample of that weekly progress report. Okay, so that's the one I want to run. And I go to the next step. And I can do it for a couple of students, or I could do it for everybody in my course. Okay? So if I come down here to, and we were looking at access to citizenship, I can click that one, click done. And I can see that there's 29 students in there, and I can see who they are just to make sure. And then I go to next step, and I could say, do I want to do this on a one-time basis, or do I want to set up a recurring thing? So what I might want to do is run that weekly on Sunday, and I want to start on the 13th and end at the end of the term. So with this, we can go in and set up these reports to just run automatically, so I don't have to go in and go student by student. If I wanted the weekly report, I can say, what time of the day do I want it run? Okay. So there's a question about how are all these features built into your help pages? They should be. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they are. So when I finish this, next step takes me to finish. I'm not going to save this because I don't want to contaminate. I'm going to click out of here. And if I come over here to the Help Center, okay, there is an instructor user guide right here. And we talked about setting target dates and start dates and all those other things. Here's a small piece on that very thing in our resources. So that gives you a good thing right there. There's other really, focal things, but if you're interested, you can always type in keywords up here to look for that. And if you would like to, say, hey, I would like a really nice, thorough walkthrough of all the report pieces, please feel free to reach out to me. And I've started doing things a little bit differently lately because of everything going on. And one of the things I'm doing is if somebody would say, hey, I would like a really good, thorough walkthrough of this report feature and show me data and all these other things. One of the things I'm doing there is instead of setting up a meeting and have everybody come in, when it's going to be recorded, I just go ahead and record it and then save it and send it out, send you a link for it, and you can download it and you have that for reference. So it's kind of a on-demand help, an on-demand training. I have a lot of those that are already recorded that I've done for other people, and some are generic and some are specific. Be very happy to do some of those for you. So let's talk a little bit about our new friend Exactpath for a minute. Okay. Let me quickly define what Exactpath is. If you've used anything in the past like AccuSess, then AccuSess in the past would go in and do an adaptive assessment to find out what rough grade level the student was operating at. Exactpath does something similar, but ends up in a very different place at the end. It uses a very precise, different adaptive assessment than AccuSess. And it drives not at grade level, but at skills within grade level. And that's something I've been asked for quite a number of years, is I want to know, what are the skill levels, not the grade level operating of the student. I can get that from other assessments, but I want to know, what do their skills map out to? And that's what this does. And it does it in a very precise manner. And with that, we have 3 different assessments, one in math, one in reading, and one in language arts. The student takes it, it's adaptive, and you're able to map out where the gaps are. It'll show you where they're strong. And what it does is, not only does it map it out for you, it goes in, and where those gaps are, it makes very specific assignments to students to give them exactly what they need. In the old tool, AccuSess, the students would get where they started and then everything above it, even the things they were maybe okay in. But this is only going to give them the things that they need. The other thing is, with this tool, the student only sees 4 things at one time. Yeah. Let me give you a really quick, concrete example. Okay. So this is my test site that we're diving into. I'm going to go to Exactpath. I'm going to show you one of my favorite students here. Students struggling in math. This is the tool that Robin mentioned at the first of our session today, that the student made a 1.5 grade level gain. So let's take a look at that, at one of my students who did something similar. Okay. So we get this loaded out here. And I have to apologize for my slowly loading system here. I run this is running on our test site, not our production equipment. So it sometimes is a little slow and needs a little bit of prodding. Okay. Go back here.
While we wait for that to load, David, were you able to go in and add that Exactpath option on everybody's black toolbar across the top now?
I did.
Woohoo!
Okay. So
I think Exactpath is just math and ELA. Is that correct?
It's math, reading, and ELA. It's like we separate reading from language arts. That's the difference that we do.
Mary Beth was asking about GED subjects, so I guess I should say RLA, not ELA.
Yeah, RLA. yeah, RLA. The other thing that this does is, in the reading area, it will give you a Lexile measure as well. So if that's important to you, then that's what this thing does. So I'm looking at math right here for a group of students. You can see that they're all working on different things. So I have direct visibility to what all my students are working on, whether they're doing well or they're struggling like this student. And this is not going to be a deep dive into this because it's really, really rich environment here. So what I want to do is I want to switch over to another person. This is a person who, in the first round of testing, tested at the beginning of the 3rd grade level in mathematics. The student is not quite an adult, but is toying with the idea of dropping out of high school because she's doing so poorly in mathematics. So I was requested a special thing to put this person on my test site to see what would happen. She took the first assessment, ended up at the 3rd grade level, and about 7 or 8 months later, she's now almost finished with the 5th grade level. I can see here that she's currently working at the upper bound of 5th grade level, and she's not doing fantastic. The student truly has some hurdles to overcome, but she is making progress. So rather than showing you the perfect case, I would rather show you somebody real, somebody who's struggling. Like here, she's struggling with unit rates. She did the lesson, she took the mastery quiz and got a 20. Okay? That may be reflective of some of your students here. So with this, we can help her. The student can circle back, do the lesson again, try the quiz again, and if they need extra help, we build in resources to help those students. These are things that you have to do to go in and assign them. They don't get access to the videos. You choose to give them videos. We also have lesson ideas and strategies to help your students. Okay. So one of the ways that you find this is all the way at the top on the black bar. It says Exactpath. If you don't have it, I checked before we ran into the session today. I thought I had hit everybody. Maybe I didn't. So I'll go back and circle back on that. Now there is one thing you need to do before you start using this with your students is if you put the students into the system as A for adult, remember it asked you for a grade level, they need to be something else besides the letter A for adult. They need to have a number. Most of the folks I'm working with are setting that to 8th or 9th grade, and that will allow you to access.
So to do that, they would go into the user database just where they would add a new student and just find that person, edit their profile, and change from adult to 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever.
8th or 9th grade, right. And if I'll offer this to you, if you don't want to have everybody do that, please let me know. And I have a way that I can go in and do it in bulk, and that would change your entire student database. The students would have absolutely no idea anything changed. Okay, it wouldn't affect anything else. So let me know if I need to do that. So right here, we talked about those skill gaps. This identified the student is having trouble with numerical expressions near the beginning of the 5th grade. She's still working on that. And then she's pretty good up to about the midpoint of 6th grade. Remember, back in March, this student was operating at the 3rd grade level. This is a tremendous amount of work for a student who is truly struggling here. And you can see that a lot of the area of 6th grade is taken care of, and we've got some things we're working on here in 7th grade. So it's going in, identifying those skill gaps at the grade level, plugging those up, and getting the students up quickly to where they need to be. That's the key takeaway from this tool. Now, it's probably been a while if you've never sat through a full-blown, training orientation session for this tool. Be very happy to set one up for you. So I can negotiate that with Susan and we can talk about that.
Yep.
I see I am just a tad over my time. Robin, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, David. That was very helpful. And I think everybody is familiar with working with Susan and yourself, but and I think, David, you were going to pop your email into the chat.
Let me do that.
And as I mentioned, my name's Robin Tinker, and my email is robin.tinker@edmentum.com. Susan has my contact info. She also has David's. And we want to help you be successful. And so I did take some notes about the follow-up on doing the webinar and doing a deep dive on reporting, etc. But you have a lot of resources available to you within Edmentum, and we're happy to help with that.
And
And-
Robin, I know one thing we had talked about earlier was the potential for some ELL Foundations content within Edmentum, and I know that's not rolled out yet. That end of the December, and unfortunately, it turns out it's not a part of the license we currently hold. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So Robin's going to be sending us, potential proposals, which I have no knowledge yet of whether or not we will have funding to add that to our license, but it is something we will definitely actively look at once the content is available and we can do an evaluation of it.
Right. And so just so you know, Exactpath, what David was just showing, it is WIDA aligned, and so it's basically approved for use with ESL learners. And the research shows that students that where English is not their native language do as well, if not better, than their English speaking counterparts. So you have that. But what that doesn't cover is that newcomer emergent level, right? And so that's what ELL Foundations is that we're coming out with on December 21st. And it includes 2 courses that, if it's added to your account, would be available under courseware, just like everything else. And you would have the ability to either, it could be teacher-led, students can take the courses independently, and you can also go into Custom Course Builder and even add pieces of that into other courses if you like. And kind of along those lines, something we talked about just real quick is there are also some very good CTE courses that provide life skills. Those are the essential, if you want to take a look at the courses, essential career skills, electronic communication skills.
There's some good digital literacy stuff in there around social media and some of those things as well. Yeah.
Right. And we'll figure out a way to at least get a couple licenses of ELL into your account, the new foundation courses, so you can take a look at them.
Thanks, Robin.
You're welcome. From David. Oh, okay, setting the level. All right. Any other questions before we let you all go?
And I put my email address in there, and unfortunately I've got to run. I'm about 6 minutes late for my next meeting. So
sorry, David.
That's okay. No problem. No problem at all.
Thanks for everything, David.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate talking to you folks again. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.